Hey everybody, this is Mark, and I am going to do a quick video to go over some of the aspects of tuning your double-strung harp. Now, what I'm going to talk about will work even if you have a single-strung harp, but double-strung harp is a unique animal all in its own right. And many times they'll see a double-strung harp, they'll hear a video of one or watch a video of one, and they'll be like, I want to get one of those. And then they get one, and there are so many aspects of the double-strung harp that can easily overwhelm you. I'm just going to talk about tuning today, and I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that I go about it and try to offer you some encouragement. If you don't struggle with tuning your harp and this is of no interest to you, then by all means go on and wait for the next video. But I know that this is an area of frustration I see over and over again on our Facebook group and in comment sections on various sites and YouTube videos where people are playing the harp. So tuning is an issue, and so we're going to talk about that today. And if this is of interest to you, I hope that you're going to get some positive benefit from this video. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so I'm set up here, and I have my Brittany. This is a Brittany double-strung harp by Stony End. You can almost always tell the Stony End harps because they have this. Oh, you can't really see it there. They have that beautiful little harp cut out up here on the top of the soundboard, which has both an aesthetic and a functional purpose. But I love my Stony End harps. To be fair, the only harps I've ever played have been Stony End, with the exception of my lap harp from the fireside harp from Backyard Music. But anyway, the principles of tuning a harp work the same no matter what lever harp you have. I do not know how this works with pedal harps. I don't play pedal harps. I've never played a pedal harp. I'd like to play a pedal harp someday. But this is just a regular lever harp. The difference is it has two sets of strings. When I first got my fireside harp from Backyard Music, and I put it all together, I ran up against the very first problem that a new harp player on nylon strings is going to run up against. And that is, it takes a long time for nylon strings to settle into place. Nylon has a tremendous ability to stretch. And so you can, when you first put a brand new string in place and you put it in and you start to tune it up, if you get it in tune and then keep the tuner running and keep plucking the string, you'll audibly hear it going flat because it's just stretching. I have here, for example, a ukulele, and it has nylon strings, and the same thing. When you first put any instrument that has these nylon strings, nylon has a tremendous stretch capacity, and it's going to take some time. There's no getting around it. There's no way to minimize it. It's going to take time for that string to stretch. Once the string reaches it's relatively at its stretching capacity, it's going to settle, what we call settle into place, and it's going to be able to hold its tune for a lot longer. So when you first get a harp, it can be, especially a double-strung harp, it can be incredibly disheartening because you feel like all you're doing is just tuning. And it does take some of the fun out of it. I promise you, if you stick with it, that the strings will settle, but it requires constant tuning. When I got my fireside harp, I would tune it 6 or 7 times in a day, and it took a week or more. It did. But you're going to have your instrument for years. So what's a week or two of constant tuning? And while you're tuning it, you're getting used to your instrument. You can be working on technique. You can be working on just familiarizing yourself with how it feels to hold the harp and how it feels to pluck the strings. And so there's a lot of things you can be doing while your harp is settling into place. But even though all of my strings are settled now, if one of these strings were to break and I had to put a new one on, I don't know if you can see it, but I've actually got a little bit of a tail on this C on this D string here, the low D, because it broke and I had to replace it a few months back, and it again took the same amount of time. So I had to play around it because while it was still stretching in. So first lesson on tuning a harp: if it's nylon strings, you're just going to have to be patient and wait for them to settle in. There's no shortcuts, but you can reduce the overall amount of time in days that it takes by tuning it more regularly. I'll just pull a number out of the air. Let's say it takes 50 tunings for a string to settle into place. It may take more than that, but let's just say 50. You can do 50 if you take 50 tunings over 4 months, or do 50 tunings within 2 weeks, or 50 tunings within a week. You can't minimize the number of tunings that you're going to have to do, but what you can minimize is how long it ultimately takes you. And that's going to be up to you and based on the amount of time that you have to put into it. Okay? So, on a double-strung harp, we have 2 sets of strings. Double strungs, as opposed to cross-strung harps, have opposing strings. That means the note is the same on both sides. Now, you can tune them different ways, but essentially the way it is normally set up, and the way your harp probably came, whether you have a Brittany or a Bria or an Eve or an Enna, or from Stony End or any of the other, I think Argent Fox makes a double-strung lap harp. I know Marini Music does, but regardless, all of your double-strung harps, if they're not cross-strung, the note on one side is the same note on the other side. So that helps when you're tuning, is that you know that all the notes are going to have to sound the same. That benefit is also a detractor, a negative. It can be, because if the F on this side is in tune, but the F on this side is out of tune, and you play them at the same time in a song, you're going to have some dissonance. And that's when the notes just don't sound quite right, because the frequencies are not in tune. And frequency is going to become important when we start to tune it. So I have 22 strings on one side. When I bought my Fireside harp, I had 21 strings, and there was just one set of strings. Now I have these 22 strings on both sides, 44 strings. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of strings. What am I going to do? Well, there's no way of getting around it. It's just going to take some time to tune. How do we go about tuning it? And what's the most efficient way? There are a lot of ways to catch a fish, and everybody thinks they have their preferred way. You're going to find other people out there that are going to recommend tuning harps in different ways. I'm not telling you mine is the best way. I'm just going to show you how I do it, and I think it works out pretty well. So once the strings have settled into place, and I just have how often do I have to tune it? There are a couple of different ways that you can tune. You can use audible tuners, that is tuning apps or devices that work on this in the same way that your ear does, where the frequency hits either your eardrum or it hits the speaker of your phone or some other electronic tuner device, and based on that sound frequency, it will tell you. So this is called Pano Tuner. I've used this on my phone. I've used this now for probably 6 years. In different instruments. When I started playing the harp a few years ago, I used it as well. I'll show you here what it looks like. It's P-A-N-O, not piano, but P-A-N-O Tuner. All right, and you can see that as I'm talking, it's trying to pick up the frequency of my voice. So if I said, for example, you see how isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? But you can see how it changes. And I've found, and so it shows you the note. When it's in the red, then you'll know that you're either sharp or flat, and then green is on pitch. You also have the frequencies down below there if you want to tune to an exact frequency, whichever way you want to do it. But it's a great free tuner. I recommend it. It works very, very well. Another tuner that you can use is, well, I won't take it off right now, but you can see it right here. This is called a Snark Tuner, and it's a clip-on tuner. Snark tuners, S-N-A-R-K, Snark tuners work on the principle of felt frequency vibration. So a Snark tuner does not tune based on audible frequencies, but on the vibrational frequencies, which audible frequencies are vibrational frequencies. I get that. But I want you to understand the difference. If you use your phone or tablet with Pano Tuner or any other audible electronic tuning device, it's using the internal speakers of that device to match the pitch and to show you accurately what your pitch is. And these have become incredibly accurate for most everybody's purposes. Snark tuners are different in that no matter how much noise is going on around you, when they clip onto an instrument, then the pitch that shows up on the screen is going to be based on the vibration in the instrument itself. So you have to find a good place to clip it on. I've seen ones that you can clip onto each individual peg. That's a lot of work. So I usually use the Pano Tuner, and I'll show you how I do that. But I wanted you to know that you have those two different options when it comes to tuning. You can use your phone or tablet, or you can buy a Snark Tuner. I think I saw them for like $21 US on Amazon, but whatever. And there are other ones besides Snark, but Snark came with my hammered dulcimer, and it also works pretty good on my harp. So I tested out this way of doing it. Here's what I do. When I tune my harp, there's that what's the word? This upper portion. See that's a technical term for harp. The upper portion of the harp. I set my phone right in the middle of it, and then I can stand up to tune, which I'm going to do in just a minute. But I tested this out beforehand to find out whether or not it works, and the Snark Tuner I clipped on to the sound hole, the bottom of the sound hole down here. There's a clip. I'll show you that. So it's a clip, okay? And I clipped it on here because this is where all the vibration from the harp comes from. It comes through the soundboard and out the sound holes. Remember, it's not about the sound coming out, but it's about the vibration with the Snark tuners, with these clip-on tuners. And I found out that the sound that I'm getting on my phone is matching the frequency that's showing on the Snark Tuner. So I think you could very easily do that if you have a larger harp like a double-strung floor harp. You might have to move the Snark Tuner to the upper sound hole or the lower sound hole depending upon where you're playing. But since the Brittany only has the one, I found that works no matter where on the strings I'm playing. So when you get to tuning an instrument, I always start with the low G, or the lowest string on my instrument, and I go all on one side. This is where you're going to have a difference of opinion. I go all on one side. I start from the low, and I work up to the high, and then I turn the harp around, and I tune from low to high. Some people like to tune an octave at a time on both sides so that it's even pressure. I haven't found, once the strings settle in, I haven't found it to make a lick of difference when I'm only tuning a little bit at a time. When you're first tuning your harp, maybe you'll want to do that, is tune an octave at a time and keep the pressure the same as you're going up the harp. But once your strings are settled into place and you're just doing some basic tuning, a few cents sharp or a few cents flat, I don't think it makes a difference. And so I have always just tuned all one side at a time, and it makes the job go a lot faster. So I start low and I go high, and I just stand up. I'm going to cut my head off here as I stand up, but I stand up, I have my tuner here where I can see it, and I reach down, use my fingernail so that I get a good sound. All right, so that's a little bit flat. I'll adjust it and pluck it again. Now you can, if you're way off, you can actually move the tuning wrench as you pluck the string. Then if the string I just tuned is still vibrating, I stop that because I only want one sound to be coming out. And then I move on to the next string. And on to the next one. Now I'm not going to make you watch me tune this entire thing, but I want to stop right here, and I want to tell you a principle of tuning an instrument, especially a stringed instrument, but it works across any stringed instrument really. When you're tuning your harp, and if your note is high, if it's sharp, okay, or if it's high, if it's above your intended target, resist the urge to try to tune down to the note. Actually loosen the string to go below the note you're trying to tune to, and then tune back up to pitch. The reason for this is because it is actually easier to bring a note up to pitch than to bring it down to pitch. I won't go into all the reasons for that, just take my word for it. But also, there's also a physics reason or a mechanical reason to do that. There's a lot of tension and torque on these pegs. And if you are tuning down, to a pitch, you're unwinding the string. Okay, and that natural torque and tension on that tuning peg, if you tune down to the note, the torque and tension could actually just continue a little bit on down, and you'll find out that your note is very quickly going to go flat again. Whereas if you're tuning the string up, you're winding the string by doing that, and you're bringing it up to pitch. It's not going to continue up, and the tension and the pressure, the friction of the peg is more likely to hold in place and not slip back. Okay, so it's easier to climb up the hill to the note and less likely to slip by coming down to the note. So if you go to tune and your notes are sharp, unwind the string using the tuner just below the pitch and then bring it back up to pitch. Okay, that's free. You don't have to pay for that advice. That's just for you. All right. Okay, so I start from one side, then I go to the other. Then when I get one side all done, I turn the harp around and I start again on the low side and I tune to the top. Then what I do is I sit and I play the harp and I play up a scale and I listen, especially on the octave. I play both C's, I play both F's, I play both G's, all the way up and down the harp, listening for whether there's good consonants in the note. Again, using my tuner if something's a little bit out of pitch to bring it into pitch. Okay, so this sounds like a lot. Let me look here. I mean, I've been talking about this now for 20 minutes. It does not take 20 minutes to tune a harp. Once your strings settle into place, and again, I want to stress that's going to take a little while, but once they do, you using either your phone or a clip-on tuner, you should be able to tune your harp in under 2 minutes. It doesn't take long, I promise you. Even if you go from one environment to another, when I take my harp and I put it into my harp bag and I go to play at the hospital, I'm going from my office, which is heated, to my car, which is heated, because I'm recording this in the wintertime. I go into the hospital, which is heated, and I rarely have to do much, only a little tweaking here or there. Now, final thing about tuning a harp. Yes, your harp is going to change its tuning if there is a massive temperature swing or humidity swing. There's no getting around it. It's part of owning a string and wood instrument. And so just try to keep your harp in as much temperature regulation as possible. But I would encourage you, again, this is my advice. You do not have to do this, and it's your harp that you spent money on, so you do what was right for you. But I do not stress too much about hypervigilance in temperature and humidity regulation. I try to keep, I live in Maine. The great thing about Stony End harps is that Red Wing, Minnesota, the weather's a lot like Maine. The wood there grows in temperatures similar to what wood grows in Maine. And I have not had a problem with drying out or cracking. And there are ways that you can combat that. That's not the purpose of this video. But if you do have massive temperature swings or humidity swings, you are going to have to retune your instrument. But don't worry. Again, once your strings have settled, it should take you less than 2 minutes to do that. Don't let the tuning aspect of playing a harp stop you from enjoying the journey with your harp. Double-strung harps are worth it. Single-strung harps are worth it. Everything in life that is enjoyable requires maintenance and work, and it's no different with the harp. You can do it, and if I can help in any way, please let me know. Leave a message in the comments and let me know. Or you can email me. I have an email address associated with this YouTube account, trioofme@gmail.com. I'll put that in the description down below, or I'll put it on the video. And email me if you have a specific question. But those principles will work no matter the size of harp you're playing, as long as it's a lever harp using these tuning keys up top to do it. I hope that's helpful. I hope that takes some of the mystery out of it for you and encourages you. If you're just with a brand new harp and your strings are settling, my heart goes out to you, but it won't last forever. Just know that you are getting used to your harp, you're getting to know your harp, and very soon those strings are going to settle in. It's not going to take so much time to tune, and you're going to be able to have just so much fun with your harp. Okay, everybody, thank you. If you've made it this far in the video, God bless you for that. And let me know if you have any other questions that I might be able to help with, and I hope to see you around the channel again real soon. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy your music.